Good morning, sis. I know, it's early, but I wanted to talk to everybody about addictions. If you've been watching my videos, then you've heard a few of the stories. You've heard the things that, I started going through. And when I was in a strip club and I started dancing, I began to drink so that I could be able to do the job. I'd be able to I did it every day, drinking every day, just to be able to work, just to be able to hear the men and what they were saying. So right now I'm standing outside of a liquor store. They call it the package store, or they call it a spirit shop. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Liquor is a spirit. And a lot of times it's deeper than drugs because it's cheap and it's easy. When I was going through the situation about my ex-husband, how he had raped my daughter, I started to feel a lot of guilt, even though I did what was supposed to be done with getting her help. I did what I was supposed to do as a mother. I had that guilt of, I got with this man and this man violated my child. So, I went back to the drinking. It was drinking in the morning to get up, and it was drinking through the day, and it was drinking to go to sleep. Nobody knew about this addiction. Because see, when a lot of people drink, and especially as women, when there's a lot going on, they're like, oh, I'm going to get some bottles, I'm going to go to the club, I'm going to drink. Well, it's not just a drink. It's not just a drink. Drinking all day and drinking excessively is an addiction. Just because you're not standing out on the corner doesn't mean it's not an addiction, sis. A lot of women, the kids are getting on their nerves and stuff, and they drink. It's okay, like when they take a drink. But even the Bible tells us anything that's too much is a sin. It's also an addiction. I don't know how many times I can stress that. See, it's like, oh, a little wine won't hurt. A little wine won't hurt. But when you turning back 3 bottles in a day or 4 bottles, it's an addiction. When you are drinking to cope, it's an addiction. So that's what I want to say this morning. Liquor is an easy addiction. And it's one that a lot of people, it's hard to fight. It's hard to fight. I had to get to the point where I prayed, and I'm like, Lord God, even while I was drinking, I would be fixing me a drink, and I'd be like, Lord, please take this from me. I don't want to be drinking every day. While I was going through the thing with my ex, like living with him, my husband, where we were going through so much, and there was always fighting, and I drank just to keep away. It's like I drank just to keep away from reality. After work, I would honestly stop at a liquor store, and I would get drunk basically before going home so that I wouldn't have to hear what he was saying. And I knew that the fighting would come, so I would drink because it seemed like when he fought, it didn't hurt as bad if I was drunk, but I could feel it the next day. And that's what liquor does. That's what any kind of addiction does. What it does is it takes you away for that moment. Even love is an addiction. That man you can't get rid of, you can't get him out your heart. It seems like he's a stronghold. That's an addiction. A lot of things can be addictions, not just liquor. I just say that liquor is one of the easier ones to get to. Liquor is, again, it's cheap. It's cheap, so most people can afford it. You know how we see the people sitting outside the liquor store, and they're begging for liquor, like they will work for liquor. They will do anything they can for liquor because they need that addiction, like someone on drugs needs that, crack or heroin or whatever their, whatever their demon or sin is, whatever their addiction is. They've got to have it. Ladies, it is an addiction if you cannot fight it by yourself. And I know a lot of women say this because I said it myself. If I wanted to stop drinking, I could stop, right? But then whenever I would get into a situation, I would drink. So apparently I couldn't fix it myself. I had to go to God and get help. And I had to go to counseling to get help. You know, I literally had to take every bottle that was at the bar. I had to turn it upside down and pour it out and decide that I just didn't want that anymore. Ladies, you're not in your right mind when you're drinking. And that's what a spirit is. Liquor is a spirit. And it may take you away only for the moment, but you gotta wake up the next day. And some women wake up the next day to liquor again. And you stay drunk every single day, making decisions that are really killing you. Right now, I pray that every woman who is going through an addiction of alcohol and drugs, or in love with somebody and he's an addiction, I pray that you make God your addiction. Believe me, if you go to God and you keep asking him, well, he heard you the first time. But if you feel like you just got to keep going before him and asking God to take liquor away from you, I'm not saying I never have a glass of wine. Now, at one point, though, I had to get to the point where I don't drink anything. I'm not saying that I won't have, like a cocktail if I'm at dinner, but I don't do that anymore. I'm not an alcoholic anymore. And that's the first time I've ever said that. But I know that it's real. I was drinking every day, every afternoon, every night, just to cope with the pain. That's an alcoholic. Hey sis, you might be an alcoholic, but there's freedom from that. And I'm a living witness of that. Go get you some help.